All right, let's dive right into this explainer. I want you to mentally simulate sitting down with an absolute classic: a juicy cheeseburger, a massive order of hot, salty fries, and an ice cold soda. Now, we all know exactly how good that tastes. But today, we're going to dig into the source material to see what is literally happening inside your body when you eat this specific combo. We are going on a biological odyssey, tracking the journey of that exact meal from the very first bite all the way through your system. So, what actually happens when you eat fast food? Well, let's clear the air right up front. Fast food isn't some toxic poison, and eating it once in a while is absolutely not going to ruin your health. But tracking this biological journey, it is incredibly eye-opening because it shows us the immense workload we are putting on our internal machinery. It perfectly explains why everyday consumption of these heavy meals carries such serious long-term consequences. Literally within minutes of taking that first bite, your digestive system just comes alive. It triggers this massive system-wide response. Your stomach starts churning out acid, your pancreas gets the insulin ready to go, your brain gets a nice hit of dopamine, your heart rate might even tick up a bit, and your blood sugar starts its climb. Over the next few hours, pretty much every major organ in your body is going to be drafted into dealing with this single meal. So let's kick things off with Act I, the first bite. You see, breaking down the food physically is really just half the story. The smell, the rich taste, the crunch, all of that immediately activates your brain's reward system, releasing dopamine. And dopamine doesn't just give you a quick flash of pleasure, it actively reinforces behaviors that your brain thinks are highly rewarding. Fast food is literally engineered to combine fat, sugar, and salt in a way that maximizes this dopamine spike. Which, you guessed it, is exactly why it's so incredibly hard to stop eating those fries once you start. Once you swallow, we are moving right into Act 2, down to the stomach. Think of your stomach less like a holding tank and more like a heavy-duty mixer. It violently churns the meal, mixing it with powerful gastric acid to break down the meat proteins. But look at step 4 here. Your stomach doesn't empty all at once. It gradually releases this partially digested food into your small intestine over hours. And because fast food is so packed with fat, it actually stays in the stomach way longer than a lighter meal would. This completely explains why you often feel so heavy, full, or just sluggish right after finishing a big combo meal. As that food makes its way out, we hit Act 3, the sugar rush. All those carbohydrates from the bun, the potatoes, and the soda, they rapidly enter your bloodstream as glucose. Your pancreas immediately detects this sugar surge, and in response, it pumps out a hormone called insulin. Honestly, the best way to think about insulin is like a biological traffic controller. Its main job is to direct that glucose off the busy bloodstream highway and into your cells, where it can be burned for energy right now or stored away for later. Now, here is the crucial takeaway. A healthy body handles this traffic control effortlessly. But if you are consistently eating meals that are sky high in refined carbs and added sugars, you are constantly forcing your pancreas to work in overdrive. Over time, your body can actually start to ignore the traffic controller. It becomes less responsive to insulin. This condition is called insulin resistance, and it is a major, heavily documented risk factor for developing type 2 diabetes. Which brings us nicely to Act 4, your brain reacts. While all this wild traffic direction is happening in your blood, hormones from your gut are traveling up to your brain to say, hey, food is here. That brings a great wave of satisfaction. But it often brings a crash, too. Digestion is an incredibly energy-intensive process. Processing such a heavy, calorie-dense meal requires massive amounts of blood flow to be redirected to your gut. This shift, along with changing hormones, is exactly what causes that overwhelming, completely familiar post-meal drowsiness, the classic food coma. Okay, let's pivot a bit for Act V, processing fat and salt. So unlike sugar, which goes straight into the bloodstream, dietary fat takes this really fascinating detour. Fat gets broken down by enzymes and bile and then packaged into these tiny transport particles called chylomicrons. They actually travel through your lymphatic system before finally dropping into the blood. Now, your body needs fat. It's absolutely essential for energy, hormones, and absorbing vitamins A, D, E, and K. The problem is just the sheer volume. Fast food packs a tremendous amount of calories into a tiny package. When you eat more energy than you can burn, the excess from this fat detour gets very easily, very efficiently stored as body fat. And we definitely have to talk about the salt. Fast food delivers an absolutely massive dose of sodium. Sodium is essential for your nerves and muscles, sure, but a sudden huge influx forces your body to hold on to extra water just to dilute it and keep things balanced. That retained water physically increases the volume of blood pumping through your veins. Over time, consistently asking your circulatory system to manage that extra volume can elevate your blood pressure, especially if you happen to be sensitive to salt. The wrappers are in the trash, but we're moving right into Act VI, the next few hours. You might just be chilling on the couch at this point, but your internal organs, they are pulling a double shift. Just look at this breakdown. Your liver is frantically processing glucose and fats, storing glycogen and converting excess into fat. Your pancreas is constantly tweaking insulin levels as digestion rolls on. Your intestines are scavenging for any vitamins, minerals, and water they can find. It is a grueling, highly coordinated effort that goes on for hours after you've finished eating. Now let's zoom out to Act 7, the daily habit. What happens if this isn't just an occasional treat? Imagine putting your biology through this absolute marathon every single day. The source material lays out the reality of a daily habit filled with calories, saturated fats, and sodium, but missing out on fiber. We're talking gradual weight gain, reduced insulin sensitivity, higher blood pressure, spiking LDL cholesterol, and a dramatically increased risk for cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. Again, this doesn't happen because one single burger is toxic. It happens because the body is repeatedly overloaded with excess energy while being completely starved of the supportive nutrients it actually needs to run smoothly. Finally, let's wrap this up with Act 8, the big picture. The final takeaway from the source material might actually surprise you. Fast food can completely fit into a healthy diet. Seriously, because human health is not defined by perfection, and it's definitely not defined by one meal. It's all about consistency and patterns. If your general routine involves smaller portions, drinking water, and basing your diet on whole, nutrient-dense foods, then your body is incredibly resilient. It's just doing exactly what it evolves to do when you decide to kick back and enjoy a burger with your friends. So the next time you unwrap a fast food meal, I want you to remember the incredible, complex biological odyssey that's about to kick off beneath the surface. The question isn't whether that food is purely good or purely bad. The real question to ask yourself is, how often are you asking your body to process meals like this?